everybody. Welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. I'm your host, Matt Rossi, and my computer screen was glitching out, so that's why I sounded like that. I'm like, oh God, it's glitching. Anyway, it's myself, Liz, and Joe, who are usually here. Amazing people. Liz is the editor-in-chief of the site, and I like to call her our Grand High Poobah because someday I'm going to get her the hat. I'm going to get you that hat, Liz, if it's the last thing I do. I will be like dead on an Arctic world, and you will have that hat. I hope to God people can hear me right now. But also, yes, that's 6K who just spoke.
This is a hat-centric podcast.
Yes, all the hats all the time. I used to wear a big Medusa hat while we were doing the show just to make myself feel more comfortable with what I was up to in life. But I don't wear it anymore. So
how do you get that around the headset?
I didn't use a headset back then. I had a standing mic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that works.
I do use the headset now, so yes, no more hats. So unfortunately, not a lot's going on in Blizzard games this week. A little thing called Midnight's prepatch dropped.
Oh, never heard of it.
I think we could probably talk a little bit about player housing at least, because there's that, and then there's a few other things. Legion Remix is gone, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about endeavors. Endeavors are happening now. You finally can do the endeavors. They've been talking about them forever, but now they're finally in the game.
Well, not for another half hour.
Okay. In theory,
ostensibly, endeavors are going live with the Midnight pre-patch, which went live on January 20th. So, ostensibly, endeavors are now live as you were listening to this. And we haven't seen a whole lot of them. They've been on the beta, but they've been a little flaky and intermittent and misbehaving. So we know some things about endeavors and what's going to be coming. And there's also a lot of things we don't know about endeavors. And we will be discovering live, which is the best way to do things, right? Just go straight in there.
We need you this giant pool. It's vast and deep. Now swim forever.
But I'm sure many of us will be very excited to see endeavors in our player housing neighborhood because
themes, right?
Huh?
I wanted to ask you what the themes.
There are many themes, and we may not know all of them. So basically, when you do an endeavor, you're inviting some kind of group to come hang out in your neighborhood, and they may have some daily quests for you and activities to do. And there's a traveler's log style list of activities, and as you do them, you earn rewards called community coupons. Yay! It's another currency.
I know we were all.
Yay! More currencies.
My God.
I'm gonna say coupons, and no one can stop me. So you're just gonna have to deal with it.
She could make us start saying. She could write a style guide telling us that that's how you say it.
Yeah.
There's nothing. She's mad with power.
Make the world.
So the thing is, you can have there's a Grummels related one where they all show up, and there are all sorts of lucky doos in your neighborhood that you can go find. And there's a consortium. There's a blood elf one. There's a Niffin one, which I have not personally seen, but I am led to believe exists. And each of these have different kinds of activities. Your neighborhood will have just kind of a cluster of new NPCs and maybe new buildings or little encampments in the neighborhood. So it really kind of takes over the neighborhood and gives it a special vibe. And you can earn community coupons that you can use to buy decor. And you can earn house XP, which is actually going to be the best way to earn house XP. Up until this point, you could only get that by getting new rare, uncommon, and up quality housing items. The first time you got them, you would get 10 house XP.
Yeah,
but
that's XP's killer. Sorry, Liz.
But yeah, it is. It has been. But with endeavors, you can do an endeavor activity, which might be something like do quests or do neighborly activities, which can be things. One of the neighborly activities you can do is walk around the neighborhood petting the dogs. So it's that one's a low bar, and you will get house XP by completing these activities. That can be 50 or 70 house XP per completion of these activities. So this you could really, compared to what we were doing before, you could really zoom through the house levels, and they're just kind of fun and neat rethemes of your neighborhood. I think they're going to be cool, but we're going to have to see how they work, because they've been a little iffy on, okay, how many quests are there? How many quests are there supposed to be? Are they daily quests? Are they one-time quests? So we're going to see through the week how they shape up and how they're actually supposed to work. Because, it's been on the beta for a while, and you're never entirely sure, okay, what's the finished product going to look like? We're seeing the finished product right now.
Awesome. I guess we should also mention now that the actual pre-patch event is next week after it launches. It's a 7-day thing after, on January 27th.
Which, maybe that's going to be enough time to iron out all the pre-patch bugs, because I'm sure they're going to be here.
Yeah, I think it's very likely there won't be a single bug. I'm sorry. I can't. Come on. It's I'm not even trying to be mean to Blizzard here. You're dropping any piece of huge software. You're going to have to expect there's going to be some bugs.
They set the bar so low with. Sorry, go for Liz.
This is a particularly massive patch with just tons and tons going on.
Yeah, and then of course there's also going to be like new stuff starting up next week that is not currently being tested because it is not live, even though it is in the patch. So yeah, there's going to be some stuff going on. But I should mention this Twitch decor item, because I want you to explain it to me, because you said it's the cutest thing you've ever seen, and you've shown me a lot of cute things over the years, Liz. I'm looking to understand exactly how cute is this thing.
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's at least a 13. I mean, that's like the low end of how cute the latest WoW Twitch drop is.
Dear God.
It is.
I'm looking at it. My God.
It's a Murloc plushie, and you can start earning it right now by watching 5 hours of your favorite WoW streamer on Twitch. So
it's a little buck teeth.
It's the most adorable little wonky little Murloc plushie you ever did see. So I don't know, Matt, would you agree on my rating of 13 out of 10?
I'd be willing to set fire to several kingdoms to get this thing. I feel like whatever the threat of Twilight ends up actually being, they should put like accessing one of these things behind it, and just watch as players savagely mow that person down to get to it. My word, this thing is amazing.
So, 4 hours of streaming. The only problem I have with this item, I have one problem, which is you do this and you get one Murloc plushie when clearly I need an entire room full of Murloc plushies, like nothing but Murloc plushies. That's
you need to be able to make
just
one of these giant size. You need to be able to make one of these giant size so you can sleep on it, like a giant beanbag chair plushie.
Or like a ball pit of Murloc plushies.
Yes. Okay, I'm down for that.
So either of those things should be possible, except you get one of them. One Murloc plushie from this Twitch drop, which is good, but it's only one. However, Blizzard has anticipated my concern, and you will be able to get more of them, but there's still a problem because you won't be able to get more of them until midnight launches. There will be a vendor in Silvermoon City where if you got this Twitch drop, you can buy additional copies of this Murloc for an unspecified amount.
I demand that they put whoever this person is in one of those fields where people can't be mounted. Like straight up, just giant column of you can't be on your mount, because I don't want someone on a Brutosaur rocking up and keeping me from my 17 plushies.
That's true. That's fair. But yes, it is. I think I can safely say this is the cutest WoW Twitch drop of all time.
I mean, if it's not, I don't know how it's not. I mean, the sloth was really good, but that wasn't a Twitch drop.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that was that a charity pet, maybe?
I think it was, yeah. I mean, it was like a backpack too, so it was like it's cool in multiple ways. But yeah. So yeah, guys, seriously, I kind of want to just stop doing the show and try to watch a Twitch stream now because this thing's amazing. I don't think it's even ready, is it? Like can you get it right now?
Right now, right this second, turn on Twitch, watch your favorite WoW streamer, and start working on that Twitch drop.
Wait a minute, we're streaming right now.
Okay, I'm afraid we don't count. We're not in the WoW category. We're not in the WoW category. Look at your screen. You're streaming Diablo, Matthew.
Oh, like Diablo.
So I'm afraid you have to watch one of your other favorite WoW content creators. I do hope we're at least on the list, but not in this case.
Diablo is
if I knew that this thing was out there, I would have played WoW today. All right. I got to get better. I got to stop crying and just move on. Here's something that might. No, actually, this is going to also make me sad. Legion Remix is over. And the question here is, how did we like it? I liked it. What do we want to see Remix next? I don't know, but I kind of want to see if they can make Warlords of Draenor a Funix.
Ow.
Right, like let's see.
My heart is going out.
Let's have everybody jump in with one. Joe?
No, I'm good.
Okay, he doesn't have any opinion. Six, you got one that you'd like to see remake next?
Warlords is top of the pile. I mean, going back to Warlords, it is just gorgeous to fly over. They put in so much work for that. The thing that failed Warlords was the story, not the content.
Yeah, I feel like it's also the fact that, yet again, it was one of those expansions where, okay, we're in the last patch. See you in 9 months.
Yeah.
And
that's perfect.
With Remix, you don't have that problem.
Yeah, there's probably a bunch of stuff that people didn't collect when they were there, or maybe they did in that year and a half before the next expansion. Who knows? But I still see there's a lot of value for it. Probably my top 3 would be Warlords, Shadowlands, and then it's a real fight between BFA and Burning Crusade.
I was going to say Burning Crusade would be the only one that I would really even consider, simply because I would like to see them do something really unique with it, which is finish all the dang storylines that got dropped into nothingness during the original Burning Crusade and never got finished. That'd be great.
So you could have just said that.
You mean Burning Crusade Plus?
Yeah, accepted. Burning Crusade Plus.
I mean, honestly, that feels to me more like what we might want to see in a WoW Classic Season of Discovery for the Burning Crusade server. That could be kind of cool because then they could really do that kind of thing.
Tell me with a good time.
Of course, the thing is, there aren't any Season of Discovery. Like, Season of Discovery exists, but it's just in stasis. It just exists.
Blizzard,
wonderful idea.
Go ahead and make the thing I just said. Feel free to just do the thing I said. But yeah, okay, I do think we should mention, however, that if you were doing Remix for Decor, because a lot of people were, let's not kid ourselves, player housing is now the new beating heart of World of Warcraft. You can still get that stuff. Like, the stuff is still available. I don't think you can earn it anymore because you have to.
No, you just have to buy it.
Yeah.
You can just go buy it. You don't. There's no earning.
The prices are now like runway. Like, it's absurd. Right now.
So, okay, I think a favorite item to buy in Remix was the Sentinel's Moonwing Gaze, which was an owl statue that glowed. It's great. It's pretty great. It cost 30,000 bronze per owl, but if you want to buy it now, it will cost you 50 Veiled Argonite and 18,000 order resources.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So if you want to buy these things now, you can. You are going to have to put in the work. You are going to have to put in a lot of work.
See, what's funny is I have an absolute metric boatload. I'm using that word instead of the word I would actually use, of order resources. I could probably buy it, but then that's it. That would wipe me out. I haven't been wiped out on order resources since Legion Original.
One of our Patreon supporters, Tetsimi, has been sharing pictures of their house in our Discord, and they've shown us their entire plot surrounded by owl statues on all sides. I do not know how many owls are involved in this, but I would say at least 50. There's a whole thing going on there. Now, you could do that in Remix. That was not, it would also take some work, but
it
you
wasn't
could do
that
it.
expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, but 30,000 bronze and 18,000 order resources, totally different scale. Veiled Argonite, also not a fast grind. So,
I'm just glad it doesn't
good
have
luck.
any lumber.
Oh yeah, I can actually put some perspective onto that grind. So if you level the character in Legix and went through the whole class order hall, got them to 80, completed the entire class order hall, and even got them a hidden artifact appearance, which is what I did for 8 characters. By the time you were done with that, you would have about 130k bronze, depending on how many things you did for the first time. And this is not going into raiding. This is not doing anything but the dungeons you had to do to complete the class order hall. So about 130k bronze. You'd get about 8k order hall resources. So so that's going to net you before Legion, in Legion. That would get you, 4 owls, and now it'll get you less than half.
And unfortunately, they won't sell you less than half.
I just want an owl.
Yeah, I just want the head. No, you have to buy the whole owl.
Your owl is clearly dead.
But okay, we've now made ourselves sad at the idea of just how much regular old Legion you'd have to do to pick up some owls.
I would like to insert a topic here, which one of the things in this patch, in the midnight pre-patch that's gone live, is a whole ton of class changes, which we haven't talked about them in great depth because there's just a lot of them. But 6, I know you've been following a lot of classes because you're not sure what you want to main, and I'm kind of wondering, how's everyone feeling about their class of choice or classes of choice going into midnight? I'm going to send this to 6. Oh, you want to go last?
No. I kind of
Okay.
feel like Matt and Joe's answer are going to be, very direct, and then I'm just going to talk forever.
Joe, let's start with Joe, because I kind of feel like I know where he's going to go with this, but we will see. How are you feeling about Resto Shaman going into midnight?
Not great. It's still below where I feel it needs to be. Part of it is because with the pruning that happened, we've gotten some of our stuff back, but not enough, and we were probably one of the specs and classes hit hardest by the pruning. But with the way the game is designed now, it is very difficult at least in the beta, where I've done keys at high levels. Once you start getting past in Mythics plus 12 with a appropriately geared character, Resto Shaman fall off hard. And then we are in a similar position to where we were in at the end of Cataclysm, where in raids we feel like maintenance healers, and that's not great because it feels like the winners so far, and I hate to say the term winners, but the ones that are at the top of the food chain right now, as far as healing, and the one that came out the best are druids, who hardly lost anything, and in fact gain a lot of utility because hots are just extraordinarily powerful right now in midnight, and discipline priests, because shields and absorbs are so important now because it's so hard to catch up on health. You get to a certain threshold, and even with Resto Shaman Mastery, you are, at least in my opinion, and I'm not a bad healer. I have self-doubt on a lot of things. Healing is not one of them.
You guys, he's not a bad healer. He's a very good healer.
Liz and 6 have also had me as a healer for a very long time. Phil is as well. And I am a bomb blank healer. I know what I'm doing. And even I felt like I was falling behind by a lot.
I have put Joe in awful situations. I can attest to that.
It's true. It is true. But I mean, so it's interesting because I'm hoping that they continue to sort of develop and listen to feedback, and especially after it goes live. But from a Resto Shaman standpoint, I know some people are really happy about the reduction in keys. I just feel like I don't have tools. And it's not that my tools are simplified, it's my tools are gone. And like certain choices that you have to make now between certain nodes and talents take away key abilities that you may have needed. So you may have to choose between two different cooldowns where before you had access to both of them, and it doesn't actually help the player at all. Instead, it makes the class weaker overall because now that cooldown isn't something they can rely on. So in my opinion, for Resto Shaman, we're not bottom of the barrel, but we're going to get overlooked for a lot of content. And I was already struggling at the end of this expansion getting into pugs, and I can't imagine it's going to be any better at the beginning of Midnight. So I'm not overly excited, but we'll see how time moves on.
And it's also worth considering that, we have a month before Midnight launches, and I imagine there's time for more balance patches, and we'll sort of see how things work out in play. Are you considering playing anything else?
Yes.
Silence.
If healing does not improve, or I feel that I will be a detriment to the raid and groups, I will be either pulling out the hunter or switching to paladin ret.
Ooh.
Because at that point, I'm not playing a druid. I cannot stand druid healing. I cannot stand playing discipline. I don't like monk healing. I don't like healing as holy. I don't like healing as a paladin. I've literally healed on every class in this game, and the only one I like is shaman, really. So at that point, if it gets to that point and I have to step down from it, I will. I just don't want to feel like a detriment to the raid. And at that point, I will just become a DPS. I don't want to do that because I have been healing in this game for, 22 years, give or take.
It's a little while.
Yeah, and it's something that I really enjoy and I really like doing, and I don't want to lose that, but also I don't want to feel like I'm letting the raid down, or I don't want to be the cause of our wipes because I can't keep up with the health pools and the damage, and I don't have the tools to accurately deal with large spikes. So again, it sounds a little more doomy and gloomy, but it is on my mind. So there you go. Those are my answers.
Now, Matt, I know you haven't been playing a lot. Have you been following the changes at all, or is that?
Yeah, I have been. Actually,
is this just a silly question to ask what you're feeling about the class you might play in Midnight?
Well, I mean, I know what class it's going to be.
What class is it, Matt?
It's going to be Druid. No, I'm kidding. I am kidding. No one.
You didn't pick your main by 3 p.m. I see.
No, I'm going to be playing a warrior, obviously. There are some things I'm actually kind of a little positive about, and some things I'm more wait and see about. I like the changes they're making to interrupt duration, where most interrupts are going up in terms of how long they interrupt spellcasting. I know the warrior pummel is up to I think 5 seconds from 3. And I think everybody's is up. There's a whole list of interrupts. I didn't look at all of them, but I saw the one I saw and thought about was I think it's a Death Knight one that's up to 6. No, it was Evokers. The Evoker interrupt has a 6-second duration now that it keeps spellcasting locked down. So I think that's moderately positive. And the taunt changes, I think, are overdue. Quite frankly, taunt should create more threat. And it should, absolutely have a much bigger threat boost than it currently does. So seeing it go up to 800% instead of the current 400%, I think that is a good idea. So those are not warrior specific. If you're tanking or if you're interrupting, those are there, but those are things warriors do. So those are both kind of positive. I see some damage stuff has gone down, other damage stuff has gone up. And I think a lot of it is the idea of balancing for new stuff. Like new talents are coming in. You'll get a few more levels. We're having the whole, this one was it an item squish only? Or was it also,
It's a complete stat squish. Huge.
Stat item. Yeah.
So with that happening, there's of course going to be some rebalancing necessary. I don't feel qualified to say this has been nerfed or this has been buffed because I haven't gotten a chance to really feel how it plays. Unlike Joe, who has, not only does he have all of his experience, but he's actually gone on the beta and tested it out. I haven't been doing that because of another game before. So when my experience of it will come next week, for lack of a better word. But I'm moderately positive. I feel like I could go back to tanking, which is something I haven't tried to do in a long time. I haven't really tanked, other than like people be like, "Oh, hey Rossi, we need a tank," and so I would go get my warrior, and I'd like, "Okay, here's a shield. I remember how to do this," and I would go tank for people, and it usually worked. But I haven't tried to be a dedicated tank in a long time. I might seriously try, especially since now Prot's a lot more based around switching between stances. You don't just stay in defensive stance, because defensive stance has no threat coefficient anymore. It just reduces damage you take. So for a lot of times, if you're not dying like a chicken, battle stance is better to tank in, because you'll do more damage and thus create more threat. And then, I'm starting to look like I'm going to get parboiled, and I don't have an amazing healer like Joe to keep me alive. Defensive stance. Or defensive stance just because I like my healers and I don't want them to start screaming and pulling their hair out. But regardless, I feel cautiously optimistic, but not willing to say this is going to be great yet. I really need to feel it more. But I'm pretty happy with playing a warrior in this expansion so far. So far, I'm like at 60%. This is going to be okay. Everything's fine. It's going to be okay. I am the dog at the table in the fire. So yeah, that's my response. And now Six can talk for 25 minutes.
Smoke them if you got them. So, Matt, when was the last time you tanked on a warrior? I'm sorry, I missed that part. I had a cat.
I haven't tanked dedicated since.
Or just at all, like last time you like.
Oh no, I tanked in the War Within.
Okay,
I tanked for friends in the War Within a couple times. They literally just caught me when I was logging on. One time, I have a friend who I play other games with who texted me in another game and was like, "I really need a tank." I was like, "Okay, my gear is not exactly great. The catch-up gear is fine." So I came in. I literally did the quests in Alien Planet at the end of expansion, and got gear good enough to tank this dungeon that he needed tanked, and then I left. So yeah.
Well, I asked because it's funny. I've gone over a lot of these classes so far, and to say the least, I haven't gone over all of them. And there's just some classes that I just can't enjoy for whatever the reason is. Cough, monk, cough. So, but warriors, that to me is like the least changed class going into the next expansion. So
yeah, it's mostly just number stuff.
Yeah,
it's mostly just number stuff.
Near the same utility, near all the same stuff, near the same problems. I mean, the stuff that was wrong with Prod in the War Within is still wrong with Prod, although Prod to me was really fun in the War Within, so you got a lot of things going.
I'm not saying it's not going to have issues, but it still feels like it's possible that I could execute well with it.
Yeah, no, and I mean, Furies plays wonderfully still has like that mana quality to it, and Arms is less stop and go, I'll say. So from what I've been seeing with it and what I was playing with the War Within, I mean, overall, it's been great changes. Like, that's my opinion. Like the purging, like revising a lot of these classes, I think like most of it has been incredibly positive. Has been just a great way to get back into this stuff. And I also think a lot of the complaints that people have piled onto certain classes too are a little overblown and obfuscating some really fun aspects of some of these classes too. Again, cough, fire mage, cough. So there's a lot to say. Good Lord, I have no idea what I'm going to main at the. Well, I have some ideas what I'm going to main at the moment. I'm usually somebody who likes to, find a lost child, the redheaded stepchild of the meta for whatever's going on, and just kind of like make it work. Which is why Survival Hunter is always in the rotation for me. And weirdly enough, I feel like it's in a beautiful place right now in the War Within, and I actually think what they've done kind of lessens it a little bit. It's doing better. I mean, it's going to be killer for Mythic. It has one of the strongest Apex talents in the game, and it has a bit of a challenge to it too, in a fun way, which is you're trying to line up the tip of the spear with Raptor Swipe in order to make sure that your pet is just hitting like a truck with it. And all that stuff to me is just great gameplay, but it plays so plotting now, and also you've lost kind of like that balance of what was the term for it? So with Mongoose, I think it's just like a Mongoose bite proc now, but the way it plays in the War Within, no longer on live, because live is now, it's now going into midnight and these changes are there. But the way it used to play is you would get 5 stacks of Mongoose Bite and just do what you could to maintain those stacks and run it into your next cooldown and try and keep those stacks up. And Mongoose Bite was, again, hitting like another truck. But that is gone. Those just roll off as they come on. So it's lost some complexity, as nearly everything has. Wasn't that complex to begin with, though. And they also gave it Boomstick, which is just the weirdest ability because it pretty much replaces the what was it called? The jabby one, something of the eagle. Yeah, but it's a lesser ability because it's capped, and it comes out with just like these 3 big booms. So you can only hit up to 8 targets with it. It occupies the same amount of time, but aesthetically, it just feels like everything slows down for you. So, but it's nice. And then the other one I'm thinking about playing right now is Fire Mage, which everybody hates. So, yeah, because everybody's just like, oh, you're just throwing all these fireballs. But it's really manic. Like your cooldown pops, everything goes crazy. You're just sending off pyroblast like no other for about 10 seconds and just trying to line up as much as you can. 30 seconds in, you drop some meteors and proc yourself another frost firebolt. And then in between there, you're just trying to fill it up with as many fireballs as possible. Which people are like, oh, this is awful gameplay. But if you go and play like classic WoW, all you ever did was like 1 button or something like that for different specs. So try and get as many mutilates in as you could or something like that in SOD. So it's funny for me that everyone's complaining about that when it's still really mobile, has these great little windows of just like death, and the rest of the time you're just a fireball throwing mage, which is what I do half the time in Dungeons and Dragons is try and get as many fireballs into the field as possible.
The wizard casts Fireball.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. And I know everybody, and I think too, like the common consensus right now is that everybody's going to be going Frost Mage and talking about how great it is, and it is better. It was a little too complex in terms of trying to figure out a viable spec in the War Within, from my opinion on that one. And they've nailed it down. It's really simple. You just follow the procs and the stacks and everything else to that degree. But I don't. I feel like it also lost a bit of its aesthetic or its inherent appeal in that, and that Arcane and Fire are just well ahead of it. I mean, Arcane's got this great like Lord of the Orb spec going right now if you're playing Spellslinger, which is just hilarious. You're just sending dozens of orbs into just mobs and everything like that, and I can't imagine a more fun spec right now in Mythic Plus than that. So, but additionally, I mean, I think everything's been great. I'm trying to think of like anything else I can talk about. Unholy had probably the best rework. That's the one coming in here that has had the most tuning and been turned into a whole new vehicle for people. The Frosty K is still playing beautifully. Devour I find very boring, the new Demon Hunter spec. I actually think
Oh no, I didn't want to hear that. I was considering doing Devourer.
I know I'm alone in this. To me it like people complain about how some of these guys are like 2 or 3 button rotations. That really feels like a 2 button rotation with some like cooldown stuff going on. Like Havoc to me is like the superior spec with the 2 going into this thing. But again, I am somewhat alone in that opinion. So I will agree though with Joe that probably the big loser in this was Restoration Shaman. Other 2 Shaman specs are doing very good, but yeah, Resto, I don't know what was going on. There's a lot of stuff that I was really surprised to see it coming out to live the way it is. And Resto was easily sort of bottom of the barrel there. Yeah. I mean, I think Holy got a big thing going for it. I think Holy's great. I know people have been hitting on that. Becoming like this master of Serenity and having Serenity do splash healing, that is fantastic.
But I feel like Holy falls into the same category or a similar category. Sorry to jump in there, but like
fine.
Holy finds itself in the same camp like we did at the end of Kata, where Holy and Restoration were maintenance healer, not really having that big raw throughput. So like it's weird to have that big backslide.
No, and you're right about that. I mean, in my opinion of healing, and it's probably not as nearly as developed as yours, is there's sort of 3 types of healers, or there's 3 types of healing, and all the healers kind of blend something in there, which is there's reactive, active, and passive. And reactive is just, oh crap, that person's health went down, so you throw out the biggest heal you can, the fastest heal you can for that. Reactive is like a disc priest, which is like, okay, I've lined up all of my atonements, people are ready to go, time to hit the big buttons, I know the damage is coming in, and boom. And then there's passive, which is a lot of what druids do, of just putting on hots, setting up a lot of other stuff, having a lot of heals over time go out for stuff, and just maintaining sure that those are kept. And Holy Priest has always been the reactive healer. Like, it's always been the one that's like, oh crap, got to get stuff out. And they made it a super reactive healer. They just threw out Renew and just bumped up Serenity. And to a point now, it's my first healer in a lot of ways, but also that can be fun. So, but yeah, Resto, they they threw out the car engine for you, and then they gave you nothing. They just said, oh, wait until you can find a downhill, then push the car and see how fast it goes. So, which is not the way to play these things. So,
They rejected my idea of putting pedals. I don't know why we couldn't just pedal. I
oh,
when I do play a shaman, I tend to play Resto, and yeah, I'm not going to play that character. It's just yeesh.
yeah. No, but I mean, there's like I said, there's been a lot of great improvements. Shadow Priest, Shadow was having so much trouble with Shadow Crash, and they just replaced it with a gigantic tentacle that now hits. So, and they also turned it back into a dot class. People may have not noticed this about Shadow Priest in the War Within, but it really was kind of a burn spec. Like, you got your cooldown going, especially if you're playing Void Weaver, and then you just threw as many Void Balls or anything else you could at them at that time, and just that was your damage window, and then everything else was just maintenance after that. And now it's going back into just being like heavy on the dots, heavy on like Shadow Word Pain, Shadow Word Madness, all the other stuff. I'm probably forgetting something in there. I'm trying to think of the Shadow clones, but yeah. But that's been a big improvement too. Yeah, the rogues have had great stuff. The rogues have been in an awful place. Although funny, because I feel like Outlaw is now a rogue. I should also say is also one of the ones I'm interested in playing going forward. But they fixed some stuff in rogues. They made some stuff better, and then they made some stuff a little worse. Assassination is still a pooling class, although they fixed some stuff to make mutilate, hit a lot, mutilate, and venom really work together more in the cooldown windows. Outlaw, they fixed a bunch of stuff. It plays a lot better now. It's less chaos. It was the hardest spec to manage, I would say, in the War Within, and so much so that the UI itself wasn't able to keep up with it. Like, if you had too much haste on an outlaw rogue, you actually started doing less DPS when Bloodlust was called, because the UI just couldn't register the commands that were coming in. It was just so manic. That's changed. It works a lot better, but they took away the one thing that Outlaw had, which was Outlaw was the one rogue spec that really didn't have to worry that much about energy, and now Outlaw is drained of energy. And it's kind of sad. And I wish that the ambush build that kind of helps you with the energy would work for it. But from what I'm seeing right now in the early metas, that's not happening. But it's playable. I wouldn't have said that before with it, especially not to an average user. Oh, and then there's subtlety, which everybody seems to be hating. And I kind of think they did a great thing in sort of like breaking it down a little bit, making it a little easier. I mean, it's no more difficult or like uncomplex than a Ret Paladin is right now. Like, Ret Paladin might have a few more cooldowns than Subtlety has right now, but if you take Gormoth's Bite, you've given yourself an added complexity, you've helped yourself a little bit with energy, and you've set yourself up for some free finishers. And yeah, and there's so much just sort of a class aesthetic going into it too. You have shadow clones, you're still kind of like the master of the darkness, delivering like shadow and poisons and plague damage. And it is just such a wonderful class to kind of invest yourself in. The problem with Rogue still is that it has to stand next to all the play classes. It's in the melee parts, and it's real squishy. And I don't think they fixed the one big issue with it, which is that a lot of its cooldowns for defensives are still coming from that energy pool. So that can be a big thing. When these guys are testing these things, usually they find a dummy, and they don't understand that when you're actually in the field with stuff, then you're hitting like Crimson Vial, and that sucks away 20 energy, and now you've just lost yourself that Sinister Strike that was supposed to be taking that energy, and you're paused, you're weird, the flow's broken, you're semi-alive, and your rotation goes to hell. So there is that. And let's see what else has been going on.
I'm so glad we brought you on this week, because man, my throat's never been this lubricated.
Everything's every like I said, it's been a lot of big stuff. It's been a lot of good stuff. I think Feral's had some improvements. It still has a little ways to go. Sorry, Liz.
It's just a huge set of patch changes, both for classes and the
Yeah.
stat squish, and everything, and add-ons, which I think we're going to try and talk about a bit. It's a big day. It's a big day for World of Warcraft.
No, it is, and it's nice that we have kind of a month to kind of like tool around with these things and
Yeah.
sort of see what
Yeah.
works and doesn't work for us. Because a lot of the stuff you don't know until you're actually in the field with it.
Yeah.
You know what this
So-
reminds me of? Do you guys remember the pre-patch before Wrath of the Lich King went live? But
That's
we
been a
still
couple
got-
years ago.
We
It's a couple
still
years
got
ago.
our capstone 41-point talent. You could get to it if you really wanted to. And Titan's Grip was introduced, which I mean,
Oh,
people were
yeah.
even saying Rossi just got his wish. I went and got Titan's Grip at the end, like doing Legion. We were doing Burning Crusade stuff, and I went and got Titan's Grip, even though I was technically supposed to be tanking. I was like, no, I'm sorry. So the next month, I am hitting things with 2 giant weapons. You come up with something. And we went and ran Sunwell, and I was death on legs, and I was so happy. But so like the rogues were so unhappy, because they were dying a lot. And that's what kind of like one of the things that always seems to happen when one of these patches comes up. But Liz, I'm going to actually ask you to do the site news now, so we can then come back in and do the add-ons bit, and then move on to other stories, if you don't mind.
Yes, I do want to say thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. You guys are what keeps the site going and keeps the site alive. So a big thank you to you. But if you can't support us financially, go to patreon.com/BlizzardWatch and toss us a couple bucks. Again, if you can. If you subscribe at $3 a month, you get early access to all of these podcasts ads free. And if you subscribe at $5 a month, you get ads free access to our site at blizzardwatch.com. Yes, we have a website. It's the textual version of these podcasts that you are listening to. So if you can, that's great. That helps keep us going. If you can't, thank you for listening, because that also really, really helps. If you like, share, and subscribe our content, that feeds the algorithm and helps us out. So thank you, everyone, for being here. But you can also help us out by subscribing to any of these podcasts: Lore Watch, Tavern Watch, and Blizzard Watch. Share them with your friends. Follow us on social media. We are Blizzard Watch on Instagram, Facebook, Mastodon at gamepad.club. We are blizzardwatch.com on Bluesky, Blizzard Watch podcasts on YouTube, Blizzard.watch on TikTok. So that's a whole grab bag right there. Follow, share our stuff. That really helps us out. And if you are in the market for any World of Warcraft books, we have a guide to the entire selection of books listed in chronological order, including all the short stories on Blizzard's websites. If you buy a book from our page, we get a little commission from Amazon. That's another way you can support the site, just if you're happening to be buying books anyway, if you buy them through our page. That's at blizzardwatch.com/Warcraft-books. So thank you so much. And if you have questions for any of our podcasts, please send them to podcast@blizzardwatch.com. Specify the show in the subject line and any special pronunciation of your name. We will do our best. And you can contact us on Discord. And if you are a Patreon supporter, you can do so through the special Patreon Q and Podcast Questions channel as our way of saying thank you. So thank you to all of you Patreon supporters who helps out every day. And thank you for everyone else just for being here and listening. So thanks a lot, guys.
And thank you, Liz, for doing that, because that's a lot of information to try to get out in one go. I don't think I'd remember it very well. But since we're still here, we still have a few more things to talk about. I'm going to talk about the weird Blair Witch shaky cam video that the dev team for World of Warcraft put a video out as an interview with the Game Informer. Go ahead.
No,
they
Game
did not.
Informer with the
Game
video
Informer published an interview.
Well, yeah, but they had
with
to show
some
up.
of the World of Warcraft dev. Well, yeah, they showed up. They didn't publish it,
stock
or I
footage.
presume they didn't. I presume they did not edit it themselves, because it is. I don't know. I think it's a little weird, but it's
Like I
packed
said,
with good information.
It looks
AI
like they tried to
Holocaust
sneak
is-
the cameras in or something. Like, what are you doing? Are you
Yeah,
filming this? No, not at all.
It's a lot of shaky cam and one shot of someone's elbow, and it's just like, what look are we going for here? Because when it goes into the interviews, it's like it's perfectly composed with a still mounted camera, and it's very sharp and clear. But like, some of it is just the camera's a little wobbly for effect.
Yeah, like I said, it reminded me a lot of Blair Witch. I wasn't being sarcastic there. It seriously reminded me of the scenes in Blair Witch where people are like yelling into their phones. It was an odd take, but we do know they did, however, tell us, for example, we are going to be going back to Northrend, which I think if you've been paying attention to The Last Titan, which is the thing that we're talking about, I don't think it's tremendously surprising we're going back to Northrend. I mean, it feels like that would be the kind of thing we would do, because again, The Last Titan,
Also,
we know there's a
Alduar
whole bunch of
exists
Titan
there.
facilities. Yeah, exactly. Ulduar exists. That weird place that we went at the end of Shadowlands is right underneath Icecrown Citadel, right? Then that had something to do with tapping into Azeroth. That was their link to Zereth Mortis. So if there's another Zereth out there, we might be visiting that. We know there's lots of possibilities, and it would feel like Northrend is a good place for that sort of thing. So I felt we should mention that.
But
I
they're
feel like
yeah,
it's
they're
Oh, sorry, Liz.
go on 6. Go on 6.
I feel like it's the Hotel California of Warcraft.
Check out
Kinda.
anytime you like. You can never leave. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things Blizzard's saying here is they were kind of reluctant to go back and rework the old world. But they did this with Silvermoon and Quel'Thalas, which they were apprehensive. They were like, maybe people won't like this. Maybe they want to go into Warcraft and have a new adventure in an exciting new place. Maybe they won't enjoy these revamped zones. But the response to Midnight has been really positive. The response to going back to Silvermoon has been really positive. And it sounds like that has encouraged them to go like really revamp Northrend. And it'll be interesting to see what it's like when we get there, because it's been a couple years. Also, Dalaran is gone. That was our home base in Northrend. And now where are we based? Where are we located? What does Northrend look like all these years later? So that is going to be really interesting. That's a little ways away. That's going to be in The Last Titan.
I saw one theory that I actually kind of liked was that there was going to be Icecrown. Like, after Shadowlands, it's not like anybody else's. There's no Lich King anymore, and a bunch of Death Knights just sitting around in there.
I mean, we still have the Argent. We still have the Argent tournament area up there as well. Just throwing that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
And those big airships
have
are flying around.
Yeah, we've done anything with the Crystal Sun Forest.
We have the faction-specific cities, but they really are split between factions, except for a couple of them. So, yeah, I think it's interesting regardless.
But okay, at this point, we should mention, since we've been talking about all this, as of January 20th, the game it's now midnight in code. It is not the War Within, and your add-ons are likely broken, almost certainly.
Yeah, they are.
Broken.
They are.
So some things are updatable. Some things will not be updatable yet. Some things are never coming back. So there's so much to talk about in terms of that we've talked about it before. I don't feel like we should just like try to pile out a list of all the things, but be aware of it. Go ahead, Liz.
One thing to be aware of is the game client will not load out-of-date add-ons anymore. If your add-on is not designed for 12.0, it's not going to load, even if it's not a problem in any way, because the big add-on changes that have happened is that Blizzard no longer allows access to add-ons to access live combat data. But even something that had nothing to do with that, if it hasn't been updated, it's not going to work, because you can no longer load out-of-date add-ons. That's not an option anymore, which has killed one of my favorite add-ons, Can I Mog It?, which existed just to tell you if you had learned a transmog appearance or not. So, sad day, because that add-on had not been updated in years, but it continued to work, and
because it just looked at your list. It just looked at your list of things you could mod to. It didn't need to be updated.
Yeah, and it's unrelated to these changes, but since the add-on itself hasn't been updated to say, I'm an add-on for patch 12.0, it will not work. You can't load out-of-date add-ons anymore.
If somebody wants to, completely make that mod again and just make it be updated for patch 12, that'd be great. Please do.
It's not that easy.
We're the target audience. Yeah,
I know it's not that easy, man.
Some of them, some add-ons need to be rebuilt from scratch just because of code changes, and it's kind of a mess out there. There are a lot of add-ons that do work that have been updated. Some of them won't look the same. Some of them won't have all the features. Some of them are still being updated and won't work for a while.
Should we talk about GTFO? Like what's going on with that? Because it's listed here.
Yeah, so
Joe, you want to talk about?
I'll talk a little bit about it, and then Liz, if you want to talk about the emotional post that was posted with it. GTFO is an add-on that we've talked about a lot, and we've recommended a lot on this podcast, and a lot of us have used for a very long number of years. It's an add-on that adds an audio cue whenever you are essentially, when you're messing up, when you're standing in things you shouldn't be standing in, or maybe you have tunnel vision or whatever the case is, but visual cues in the game, or the one minor sound that a mechanic makes in the cacophony of things going around in game you miss, which is very easy to do, causes you to die or wipe, or causes more trouble than it's worth. And it's not necessarily a player fault, but you just don't have the tools to process what's going on. This add-on was designed for people in that particular situation, and we've all been there at some point. And in a game where increasingly spell effects of bosses match the color palette of the arena that they are in, it is sometimes very difficult to know when you're standing in something awful, or when things clip beneath textures on the ground, or phase out but are still physically present there. We've all experienced that. Or having difficulty determining between friend and foe when it comes to ground effects. As a restoration shaman, I feel this keenly. It was an add-on that allowed players very quickly with an audio cue to know if they were doing something they shouldn't do. It was not a boss mod. It did not play the game for you. It literally just said, you're taking damage, maybe you should move. And it was smart enough to know where that damage was coming from. As of right now, GTFO does not work. There is more to it, where in case of like, there is a version of DBM that is out, and the makers of DBM are the creators of that mod have been working with the creators of GTFO to incorporate audio cues, but it was a diminished capacity for what GTFO does. GTFO worked, period. You could be in the world, you could be standing in something from a random mob, and it would yell at you. It could be in PvP, it would yell at you. It could be in a pet battle, it would yell at you. Now it will only trigger for boss effects, at least the way that it's integrated, because of how Blizzard has restricted everything. And this is one of those things where I can understand the philosophy behind getting rid of certain add-ons or changing the environment which they're in, but this is sort of a huge blow to accessibility, because Blizzard has nothing that does what this add-on does. Literally nothing. And even then, if you incorporate Deadly Boss mods, which is a completely separate add-on, you're not getting the same functionality, and it only will work essentially in raid content, possibly dungeon. So it's a huge blow. And Liz had posted something earlier, and I let her talk about it, where there was an update from the creator of GTFO, the dev, in the CurseForge description, and it was very eloquently.
Yeah, I think I'll just read part of this because the developer of GTFO, Zinasunum, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, made a post about GTFO going away, which is that I always thought Blizzard would kill GTFO eventually by making it redundant, by being better at communicating avoidable damage to players. The swirls on the ground are easier to see, and they added full screen effects for some of the bad stuff on the ground. But they haven't gone far enough, especially when they continue to design dangerous spell effects that match the color and design of your own team's class spells or the floor, hide AoE damage areas under staircases, or have tiny mobs whirlwind and clipping into bigger mobs. At BlizzCon, the Blizzard staff told me half their company uses my add-on. J. Allen Brack told me himself his dad used it. I met a couple who thanked me for saving their marriage because the hunter husband couldn't stay out of bed to his healer wife's frustration. I know my add-on wasn't used by top-tier players, but it did help normal, everyday, average players that needed just a little bit of help in the form of an audio cue, warning them that they were taking avoidable damage, and I'm sorry this will affect them the most. And that really gets to the heart of the matter, is that ostensibly all of these add-on changes have been made in order to level the playing field. So you feel like you don't have to add an add-on, and to make it harder for add-ons to play the game for you, especially at high levels. Add-on use really makes or breaks a raid team at those top tier levels. But some of these changes really are going to be punishing for just your average person. Because, go on,
I
Matt.
just want to mention, back in 2016, when my eyes started going, I was main tanking for my guild. I wasn't, like, from 2014 to 2016. I was the main tank, and I didn't want to be, actually, quite frankly. I signed up to be DPS, but I ended up main tanking because, I was good at it, and we didn't have any other good tanks. And the biggest problem I was having as my vision was declining was that so many spell effects are floor colored, or close enough to floor colored that guy with eye issues cannot determine that they are there. I know stuff somewhere. I don't know where it is. I don't know if I'm in it or not until I die. And accessibility stuff like this, a lot of times people they're like, why don't you just get out of it? It's like, because I can't see it. I am too late. By the time I realize my health bar is dropping like a stone, my health bar is dropping like a stone. And the healers are now like, ah! And this add-on, yes, it's also for just regular people who just can't keep track of all this stuff, but it's also for people like me who just straight up cannot see it. And there's no means for us to see it. Whether it's because the colors are weird and they're colorblind, or if, like me, they have retinopathy and much of their eye just doesn't work, or what have you. There are lots of different reasons why you might not be able to see out of all the stuff on the ground at a given moment. Like, think about all the spell effects that can be happening. Like, even if they don't look like the thing you're standing in, if there's 13 spell effects going off in the same area, it's just visual overload. You're like, I have no idea. So stuff like GTFO is very useful for that kind of thing, and it is bad for people like me that it will not be there. So I just wanted to throw that out there, just as a different perspective for people.
So this is going to be a hard one to lose, because it offered help where players needed it the most. And I do want to give Blizzard credit, because they have done a lot to make spell effects clearer and more visible. They've made the outlines of them very clear. They have started doing consistent visual formatting for stand in this effect and don't stand in this effect in encounters. But some of it's hard to see. Some of it's impossible to see when it's in a pile of other raid effects. There's just a ton of things that make these effects hard to get into. And it's, a top tier raid team, which we're ostensibly trying to curtail their use of add-ons. That team is going to be coordinated enough and together enough that they're going to be on top of this. But your average player, your player with visual disabilities, they can't.
Yeah,
and they are the ones that need the most help.
As is always, the most vulnerable among us are the ones that get hurt the most, right? Like, and those high tier that they're trying to curtail, they have the money from their backers to throw at solutions that don't involve add-ons if they really, and they will.
Yeah, and nobody, you go watch, streams from years past of various raid guilds combating various high-level content. They weren't using GTFO.
Well, they weren't, but they use things like weak auras, which is not going to be around anymore, to coordinate and do assignments on the fly. So, and that's become a huge part of end game play these days, is configuring your add-ons and getting everyone on the same version of an add-on and the
Yep.
same version of a script so that you can coordinate really quickly and efficiently. And now weak orders is gone, which certainly is going to change, the next race to world first and really competitive content. But also, yeah, we're losing add-ons like this. And we do have an update that says GTFO may be revived because Mystical OS, who does DBM, has found ways to add audio alerts to this. It sounds like they're more difficult to set up, and it sounds like they're less configurable. The GTFO dev Zinsnim has said GTFO will come back, but in a more limited form, and it requires a complete rewrite of the add-on. And a lot of features may never return. So it can, like Joe was saying, some of this, it can only work on boss encounters, no trash, nothing outside, and it only works when Blizzard has specifically flagged the relevant spells so that you can, tie into them and make an audio alert. So that means it doesn't work in any old content. It's gone unless Blizzard updates all of those old things. And it also doesn't have smart filtering. So it can't only tell you if you're low health. It can't have anti-spam where it's not going to spam you with a lot of alerts. It can't ignore trivial alerts. It's everything's on or everything's off. There's no visual alerts, which that's having a visual rather than an audio cue, or a visual in addition to an audio cue can really be helpful for some players. And also you can't what he says here is that GTFO is supposed to only go off when you're failing, not from regular gameplay. The goal was that if you played perfectly, GTFO would never make a noise. But the workaround they found to do audio alerts doesn't allow for that. GTFO was always going to go off. So, I don't even know if I really want to use an add-on like that, because it sounds like it could be a distraction from gameplay rather than something that helps. Right now, if I hear the GTFO alert go off, I know immediately I need to move. I need to get out of here. And it sounds like now the GTFO alert may go off just because the spell was cast. And it'll go off and you're at top health and you've just moved out of it. And previously it would only alert you, you're in trouble, you're in big trouble. And it'll alert you for trivial things as well as things that will insta-kill you. So yeah, this is a real tough one. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if Blizzard unlocks more support for add-ons like this, because they are really important, and GTFO has helped a lot of people play the game and do raids and group content that would otherwise struggle significantly.
No, there's also something else to add to that as well, which is that so much of the discussion around this game falls into being able to do the raids, being able to do the dungeons, getting out of the boss's way, having success there. But this game has so much success in just the role-playing field and just people being able to immerse themselves and come up with new ways of just playing with aspects of narrative and collaboration on their own through different add-ons. And that's another small death that's happening with all these things too, is there's the entire community of people who had these add-ons just to create, again, those Ludo narratives inside of these systems, that they're going to have to suffer with these things as well when they sort of lose these commands, when it's not paying attention to their health, when everything Liz just said comes back to bite them, not in the sense of them not being able to down the latest and greatest boss, but in them of just sort of having that perfect immersion on a character they've invested so much time in. That's almost a storybook life that they enjoy this game with. So...
Yeah, I was just thinking about the fact that you for all that we think about big boss encounters, one of my most powerful memories of playing World of Warcraft is spending 15 minutes as a level 15 warrior trying desperately not to have a son of a Rugal rip my head off. And I was like, oh, please, everything, retaliation, running over there, running as far as I can until it catches up, shield wall. I didn't even I had to actually put my shield on to do that. And, if you have it an add-on like GTFO will warn you if you're standing in something, whether or not you're standing in something in a raid. it worked for just out in the world. Like, hey, do you know you're standing in like a pit of like evil? Move. It's
Yeah.
just it's very helpful. So yeah, absolutely.
There's also an ultra hardcore like add-on that's going right now on the hardcore servers for Classic, and I don't think that's going away at all. But it removes your health bar and just sort of like has little like aspects filter into your UI to let you know how much in danger you are. So you can't see how much damage you're taking. You don't really know where you're at in terms of your mana or other resources. But slowly, as you're getting hit, like your screen turns red, like dramatic music starts playing, like it gets like more and more pressing on you in so many different like visual cues and ways. Absolutely nothing to do with the boss fight, but it's just the tension it derives off of just like knowing this information and creating a new like output for you to experience it through is something a lot of people like love about it.
Yeah, I absolutely. But I think at this point we're gonna wrap things up because we're a little bit over time. There was a lot this week, and yeah, it is the way of pre-patches that they do a lot of things, and we're all like just trying to catch up and make sure we're ready to go for the future. I want to thank Six for coming on and basically giving me a nice long break to rest my voice. Usually by this point I'm squeaky, so thank you, Six. That actually helped.
Problemo.
Also, thank you to Joe and Liz for all you guys do to keep the podcast going and working properly. You're both really amazing people, and we're very lucky to have you here on the podcast. And then there's me. Hi, I'm here too. This has been the Blizzard Watch podcast. Thank you to everyone for listening, and we will be back next week.